the lights flicker over another storm in women's sports. The moment Caitlin Clark's name hit the LPGA's Annika Pro-Am roster, everything shifted. What was supposed to be a calm offseason suddenly ignited into a full-blown media earthquake. Clark wasn't holding a basketball this time. She was holding a golf club. And yet somehow, the entire sports world stopped. The LPGA's phones lit up, fans flooded social feeds, and broadcasters scrambled to adjust coverage. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody. That is, except the league that knows exactly what happens when Caitlin Clark shows up. History bends around her, whether the WNBA likes it or not. The story didn't begin on the green. It began in the silence of those who should have celebrated her. As headlines erupted, one league stood motionless, the WNBA. Not a single tweet, not a post, not even a congratulatory statement. Instead, the noise of applause from golf fans echoed against a vacuum of indifference. It was the kind of silence that screams louder than words. Because when another sport celebrates your superstar more than you do, people start asking dangerous questions about loyalty, branding, and who's really paying attention. Caitlin's appearance wasn't just a cameo. It was an event. The LPGA crafted a masterclass in marketing, recognizing a phenomenon that has followed her since Iowa. The crowd's energy felt more like a Final Four than a golf match. They chanted her name, held up signs, and turned a quiet charity outing into a televised frenzy. Every swing, every smile became content gold. Meanwhile, WNBA executives sat on the sidelines, watching a different league do what they consistently failed to: capitalize on the most magnetic athlete of this generation. It wasn't just golf, it was strategy. The LPGA saw what the WNBA refused to see, that Caitlin Clark isn't distraction, she's an opportunity. They used her popularity not as a shield, but as a spotlight, one that illuminated the entire sport. Within hours, hashtags trended worldwide. Golf, a sport rarely associated with viral buzz, was suddenly front-page news. It wasn't luck, it was calculation. The LPGA recognized a moment, and the WNBA missed it again. And that's the tragedy at the center of this storm. Clark didn't need the WNBA to trend. She did it effortlessly with a golf club. But the contrast was glaring. While one league embraced her, another seemed terrified of her power. Fans noticed. They always do. The question wasn't about golf anymore. It was about respect. The LPGA gave her a platform. The WNBA gave her silence. And somewhere between the tee box and the trending page, Caitlin Clark reminded everyone why she doesn't just play the game. She changes it. The LPGA didn't just promote Caitlin. They built an entire narrative around her. Within hours of her name being announced, the organization plastered her face across social media banners, highlight reels, and promotional graphics. Queen of the court, meet Queen of the course, one post read, and it sent the internet into a frenzy. Golf networks restructured schedules, sponsors doubled ad budgets, and broadcasters prepared live coverage for an event that wasn't even supposed to air. All of it because one athlete had the power to shift global attention. This wasn't an accident. It was marketing genius. The LPGA understood what the WNBA keeps resisting. People don't just watch sports. They watch stars. Caitlin's presence didn't just raise awareness. It transformed perception. Golf suddenly looked young, exciting, and culturally relevant. The LPGA's gamble wasn't just to invite her. It was to let her lead. They didn't fear her shadow. They used it to cast light. It was a masterstroke in positioning, and it showed the world how to grow a brand through celebration, not suppression. Behind the cameras, the LPGA staff worked overtime, pivoting logistics overnight. Originally, the event wasn't even meant to be televised. But when fan demand skyrocketed, thousands calling, emailing, begging for coverage, the league adapted instantly. They partnered with networks, adjusted rosters, and streamed segments to accommodate global attention. They didn't complain about imbalance. They didn't whine about too much focus. They understood what they had, and they doubled down. That's how you run a professional league. With vision, not envy. The buzz built hour by hour. Photos of Caitlin signing autographs and laughing with fans began circulating, each one amplifying the hype. Her casual confidence, swinging a driver with her trademark smile, became a viral loop. Even those who had never watched a women's golf event suddenly cared. And that's what true influence looks like: effortless magnetism that transcends boundaries. The LPGA didn't just capture attention, they captured imagination. And in doing so, they exposed a painful truth about how much potential the WNBA continues to waste. While golf was going viral, the silence in the WNBA was deafening. No cross-promotion, no acknowledgement. just quiet, an intentional, almost calculated quiet that said more than any statement could. Fans flooded the WNBA's official accounts demanding answers. Why aren't you celebrating her? Why is the LPGA doing your job better? The irony was brutal. While one league worked tirelessly to highlight women's success, another acted as if its brightest star had disappeared. The optics weren't just bad, they were catastrophic. The crowds of the Annika Pro-Am weren't typical golf fans. They were believers, converted by Caitlin's charisma. Entire families showed up wearing fever jerseys. Teen girls waved homemade signs that said, "Go Caitlin," in neon letters. It felt like a cultural crossover event, not a sporting exhibition. The LPGA saw this fusion of worlds and seized it. They promoted highlight montages showing Caitlin alongside golf icons, merging two fan bases into one powerful audience. That wasn't coincidence. It was precision marketing. And every swing she took made the WNBA look more disconnected from its own narrative. When Caitlin teed off, the energy shifted. It wasn't polite applause, it was a roar. A sound rarely heard at women's golf tournaments suddenly echoed across the fairway. People climbed fences, lined the greens, and held their phones high to capture every shot. It felt like a rock concert disguised as a golf event. The LPGA leaned into that chaos. They shared fan clips, reaction videos, and behind-the-scenes interviews. They didn't police the attention, they multiplied it. That's what celebration looks like. That's what leadership sounds like. And the contrast couldn't be more glaring. The WNBA's silence became its own headline. Commentators mocked the league's absence. Journalists wrote op-eds calling it marketing malpractice. Even rival players started quietly questioning why the organization refused to publicly support the very athlete keeping them relevant. It was an unforced error of epic proportions. The LPGA proved what happens when you build your house around your star. The WNBA proved what happens when you pretend the light doesn't exist. The difference between those two philosophies wasn't just marketing, it was survival. Everywhere Caitlin goes, the same pattern repeats. She elevates everything she touches. Ticket sales surge, broadcasts break viewership records, merchandise sells out in minutes. It's not hype, it's data. But what made this golf moment historic wasn't just numbers, it was a symbolism. In one weekend, she showed the world what happens when a league embraces, rather than resists, star power. The LPGA turned an athlete into an ambassador. The WNBA, by contrast, turned opportunity into silence. That silence grew louder with every cheer that echoed from the fairway. Fans didn't just watch, they felt vindicated. For months, they've accused the WNBA of undercutting Caitlin's impact, of being jealous rather than strategic. The golf event crystallized those suspicions into proof. The difference between appreciation and avoidance was visible in real time. The LPGA gained momentum. The WNBA lost credibility. And through it all, Caitlin remained gracious, humble, smiling for photos, thanking fans, and proving once again that her charisma isn't manufactured, it's magnetic. She doesn't demand attention, she earns it. The event's success didn't just lift golf, it exposed a flaw in basketball. As sponsors lined up to praise the LPGA's handling of Caitlin, whispers began spreading in WNBA circles. Executives worried they'd lost control of their most valuable asset. Some insiders even claimed the league sent internal reminders to staff about maintaining professionalism in referencing non-WNBA appearances. A quiet, bureaucratic way of saying, stay silent. The optics were devastating. One league was celebrating women's sports unity. The other was managing insecurity. When Nellie Court and Caitlin Clark stepped onto the tee box together, the crowd knew they were witnessing something special. Two elite athletes from different worlds, one at the top of golf, one redefining basketball, sharing laughter, smiles, and effortless chemistry. Cameras captured every moment. The photos went viral instantly, generating millions of likes across platforms. The LPGA leaned in again, posting captions like, "Icons meet icons." It was genuine, uplifting, and unifying. But for the WNBA, it was another missed opportunity, a moment that should have been theirs to amplify. The truth is simple. The LPGA understood the Caitlin Clark effect better than the WNBA ever has. They didn't overthink it. They didn't debate fairness. They recognized value and moved fast. Their reward? Record-breaking engagement and a surge of new followers. The WNBA, meanwhile, clung to the outdated idea that equal exposure means equal growth. But sports don't grow on fairness. They grow on fire. And Caitlin is the flame. The more the league suppresses it, the colder its brand becomes. By the end of the weekend, one thing was undeniable. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's an economy. Her presence generates attention, revenue, and relevance. The LPGA saw that and turned it into gold. The WNBA ignored it and watched another league cash in. That realization hit fans hard. They weren't angry at Caitlin. They were angry at the silence. Because every time she wins, women's sports win. Every time the WNBA refuses to celebrate her, it feels like betrayal. Even rival sports commentators couldn't stay neutral. ESPN analysts praised the LPGA for showing the blueprint. Columnists called it a masterclass in modern athlete marketing. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. The LPGA treated Caitlin like an opportunity. The WNBA treats her like a liability. That line spread like wildfire because it captured the emotional core of the debate. Admiration versus avoidance, growth versus jealousy, vision versus fear. The WNBA didn't just lose a PR battle. It lost a narrative. Behind the scenes, players from both leagues began to notice the cultural difference. Golfers posted supportive photos with Caitlin, calling her a force for all women's sports. Meanwhile, certain WNBA players stayed quiet, still clinging to the idea that her spotlight diminished theirs. That's the mindset, keeping women's basketball small. The LPGA shattered that narrative by proving that unity multiplies attention, not divides it. Their inclusivity made fans feel welcome. The WNBA's defensiveness made fans feel exhausted. Caitlin didn't say a single controversial word throughout the event. She didn't criticize anyone, didn't gloat, didn't make comparisons. She simply smiled, played, and thanked everyone around her. That's what makes her unstoppable. Her success isn't built on drama, it's built on grace. Even when surrounded by chaos, she remains calm, letting her work speak louder than politics. That authenticity is why fans adore her. It's why the LPGA thrived around her presence. And it's why the WNBA's silence looks smaller every day she shines. By the final day, even sports not covering women's golf were forced to pivot. Outlets like Barstool, Bleacher Report, and Yahoo Sports released viral edits of Caitlin's best shots, treating her like a pop culture crossover event. She wasn't just representing basketball anymore. She was representing possibility. Every smile, every cheer, every flash of camera light was proof that she's more than an athlete. She's a movement. And once again, the WNBA wasn't part of it. Fans started drawing comparisons online. The LPGA embraced her. The WNBA ignored her. Who really supports women? That question cut deep. It wasn't about one player anymore. It was about who truly believes in progress. The LPGA grew because it welcomed momentum. The WNBA stagnated because it feared losing control. And in that fear, they lost something far more valuable than media time. They lost trust. The irony is that Caitlin's success doesn't subtract from others. It multiplies opportunities. Every new viewer she brings doesn't just watch her, they discover the sport. The LPGA realized that instantly. They understood that visibility isn't competition, it's collaboration. The WNBA, in contrast, continues to act like attention is a zero-sum game. That mindset is killing them. Because while they debate fairness, other leagues are cashing in on celebration. By now, analysts are calling a wake-up call. The LPGA didn't just run an event. They ran a lesson in branding, respect, and modern sports culture. They showed how to build bridges instead of barriers. They didn't fear being overshadowed. They recognized the light as their own. Meanwhile, the WNBA's silence turned into a symbol of everything wrong with their strategy. Pride over progress, politics over potential, fear over foresight. In the end, one image defined it all. Caitlin Clark, smiling beside Nelly Korda, surrounded by fans waving fevered jerseys in a golf crowd. Two sports united, two worlds blended, and one league absent. The LPGA grew, the WNBA shrank. It wasn't a scandal of words, it was a scandal of silence. Because sometimes the loudest statement is the one you refuse to make. And as the cheers echoed across that fairway, one truth became undeniable. The LPGA didn't just host Caitlin Clark. They showed the world how to celebrate her.